Hi everyone, welcome to another one of our online talks from the artist. My name is Nina Shadforth, Senior Curator for Collections here at Caloundra Regional Gallery. Thank you for tuning in, and I would first like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land that we're broadcasting from today, the Kabi Kabi people, and pay my respects to elders past and present. And I would like to introduce our guest artist today, Mim Fluhrer. Welcome, Mim. And just a little bit of a background on Mim for our audience. So Mim Fluhrer is mother, artist and creator with a deep love for food, nature and life. She completed her Bachelor of Fine Arts at the National Art School in 2009 and has exhibited consistently since in both group and solo shows along the East Coast. Throw in 2 international residencies and representations in private collections internationally and locally. She now lives in Crescent Head on the mid-north coast of Australia, where she is part of an off-grid community. And this lifestyle, rooted in growing food, home life, and a close connection to the natural world, this forms the heart of the stories she weaves into her paintings. Her artistic journey has evolved from a representational abstract landscape style to her latest series, Sun Portals, a collection of circular works inspired by colour and the search for wholeness. And for Mim, the circle is a powerful symbol, a meditation on life cycles and being hand-painted, the beauty found within imperfection. Her vibrant works invite viewers to connect with their own sense of harmony and wonder. Mim is also a multiple finalist in a number of art prizes here in Australia, and she is, of course, one of our 40 finalists in our Sunshine Coast National Art Prize with her work, Sun Portals, Let Us Dance. I'll just pop that up there if you haven't seen it as yet. And so, Mim, thank you for joining us, and we're really looking forward to talking with you today.
Thanks, Nina. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So let's start at the start. What was the first thing that got you interested in art? You know, was it a happy accident? Was it intent? Was it something that's always been a part of you?
Yeah, it was great. It's actually great to reflect on. I grew up with pencils in my hand, pencils and crayons. I went to a Steiner school, a Rudolf Steiner school, which is just focus a lot on creativity and art and play. And so I, from the get-go, I had these beautiful beeswax crayons, and then, eventually we were allowed to have these, transitioned into pencils, and we didn't get a pen or a lead pencil for years and years, maybe till we were 10 years old or something. And so it was these pencils and crayons, and beautifully made, beeswax, and then these Lyra pencils, which were just full of pigment, and everything we had to draw. All our subjects had a drawing attached, that every page wanted a border. Nothing was complete without color and drawing. And so I grew up drawing, and now when I draw, it's a place of stillness and nostalgia and peace for me, because I just did so much of it. So there's that accidental / just lifestyle introduction, but into the art world and as I am today, that really happened when I went when I went to the art school, the National Art School in Sydney. That's when I first entered into a whole new world of exploration and discovery. And it was there that I felt that sense of belonging, that I wanted to be a part of it. And, that to me, that was where the doors opened, and I just went head first in and knew that I'd found my place, my people, the discussions I wanted to have. And that was when I fell into it, and it still is an evolving into the way I do it. And my lifestyle parallels my artwork. The way I live and being a mother, that exploration is absolutely just is symbiotic with my art practice. So that new discovery of art happens alongside my evolving, life as a human.
Oh, it sounds so idyllic, like from the get-go, all through your life, through Steiner and through National Art School, finding your people, and post National Art School as well, in terms of what you're doing and your practice. So so you consider yourself as a full-time artist, full-time mother, because that never stops.
Yeah, absolutely.
So can you talk us through how you go about your day-to-day practice in your studio or outside, or
Yeah,
it seems
that
nature really resonates and you're very connected to it. So yeah, talk us through what a typical day would be,
oh my gosh,
or
it
not.
really is different every day, but I will summarize it as best I can. I mean, yeah, it's a beautiful question because it's very current because my daughter is 6 years old. We're homeschooling her as well. So it's a choice to just have everything, functioning and growing from our home base,
Mhm.
from this family-centered space. And that involves my art practice, that involves all the other hats that we play and live in as a human, my own personal world and everything. And it's a new juggling act that I'm always learning how to do. I've experimented with having studios at home, and then going, no, I need to go and get one off site, and then I'm actually in the process of bringing it back home again,
Okay.
because for me, I want to not have it all in everything in separate baskets. I actually want to find the rhythm of everything that weaves together: home
Yeah.
life, family life, art practice. That's real for me. And so I want to, instead of pretending it's not, and trying to organize it better, that it didn't feel aligned,
Yeah.
So my days differ. I mean, I wake up some mornings and the weather's particularly perfect. So we just go straight to the beach because we live coastally, and we'll go and get the best of the time at the beach before the wind picks up. And then we'll come back, and then I might go, okay, mum's going in the studio for a little bit, or I'm getting in my hands into this bit of work. And my daughter is either with me, and I set her up with art. She's 6 now. So it's, we've transitioned to a different time where
Yeah.
she can get on a canvas herself and she'll paint. And if I pull out the clay, and I might not get as long time as I used to,
Yeah.
or if I did have it when, there are days when I'm just on my own and she's away, playing. So it differs like that. I weave it, and then she might go to sleep and I'm like, okay, now's my opportunity. I'm going to go, and I've got the energy. I'm going to go and do 2 hours now while she's asleep. So it's that. It's that. And we live amongst nature, as you said. So my inspiration is constant. It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah, color is probably the first port of call for a work of mine. Like, I'll start with the inspiration from color, and I get that from my environment, the nature,
Hmm.
whatever's growing in season. Yesterday I went and I needed a lemon for dinner, so I walked outside, picked the lemon, and as I was walking back, it was so, like, the color of this lemon was so pure. It was so light, citric, lemony
Oh,
yellow. And I
yeah.
just went, that's such a good color, and I was like, so then that then feeds me, and I'll
Yeah.
then want to go and use that color. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, it's looking at your work, especially, an Instagram page is a great window into your practice. And yeah, like it is just loaded with color. So
Yeah.
it's, I can't
I
imagine
do like color.
you couldn't. I mean, when you think about drawing with pencils, yeah, like a grey lead pencil, there's no color. And,
Mm,
like you've transitioned into this, yeah, explosion of just
yeah,
constant color.
absolutely. I mean,
Really.
lead pencils have their purpose, and we do a lot with them too. And at art school, all of our drawings in lead and charcoal, beautiful as well, obviously. But my being is just, is moved and very susceptible to color. I cannot bypass it.
And so
Mm.
sorry, I'm just having a bit of a tongue-tied moment. Primarily, you're a painter.
Yeah,
Is
yes, I
there,
am.
yeah, and so
Sorry.
you just mentioned that your daughter will play with clay while you're sort of doing your bit. So, do you work in other media?
I love clay. I love clay. I love ceramics, and I do work with clay and ceramics. But painting is my primary focus, and how I, identify myself as a painter, but as a creator of all sorts of different materials as well, in the sense that I'm drawn to ceramics. When I was at art school, I really questioned whether I wanted to major in ceramics or painting, but the painting pool was stronger. For a number of reasons, but I use clay and ceramics to sometimes painting for me can get I can get very heady and mental and into that intellectual side of it. And to get out of that, I go to clay. And if I just open up a block of clay, if my daughter's there, give some to her, then it's, for me, I get out of my head and it's very physical and I'm very embodied action with the clay. So I'll just do that, and I'll make a bowl or a vessel, and I'll just get in it. And I need that also to drop out of my head sometimes. And I love the medium. I love the feel of it and the texture of it, and getting it all over my hands, and then just making something from it. So I enjoy.
A lump.
Pardon?
Creating something out of a lump.
Yeah, and we've got it in the dam behind our house too. So, when the kids dive deep enough, and then they come up with this big white ball of clay, and I just am like, give it to me, I'll do something. So, it's a resource right here as well, which is fun.
Yeah.
But yes, primarily painting.
Yeah. And what drew you to off-grid? Was life hectic at some point?
Yeah, it was nothing that I grew up knowing much about. It was the influence of my daughter's dad. He very much just wanted to be here, and I hadn't heard of that way of living, and he introduced it to me. And we moved up here out of Sydney. So I grew up in Sydney, and we were in Sydney for most of our young adult life. And we moved up here for, just after my daughter was born. Primarily because we just thought, well, now we've got a child, how do we want to raise her, and coming and living on the land up here meant that we were both home, with her throughout her young childhood. We were here, and it just makes so much sense to us. The kids just grow up barefoot, eating food from the trees, hands dirty. We love it. And for her childhood, we just made that choice.
Yeah, well, it sounds very idyllic and works for you.
Yeah, it's giving me so much. It's very, it's very abundant in while I'm talking to you, a giant goanna is just walking down past the shed. I wish I could show you, but it's, it's just like that, like it's huge. It's 1.5 meters. I mean, I don't want to go near it, but it's just walking past saying hello. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's just, there's inspiration on tap here for me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You're very lucky to be in a beautiful place. And so just with your practice, Sun Portals is the beginning of sort of new aesthetic for your work. So what triggered that? Like, what kind of drew you away from your sort of abstract landscape style aesthetic to these beautiful soft circles and the palettes, and they're really beautiful. So congrats on that, by the way. So
thank you. So it is a new body of work that's come from a transition from that more abstract landscape style that I've been doing, which really I got into when I moved up here. And then I had the trees right here, and I was just looking out the window and very much responding to my immediate environment physically. And these works, I've actually returned to a medium that I was working on 10 plus years ago. And I've returned to a practice that I started shortly after I finished the art school. And I went into these quite minimal, very tonal works. And then I didn't feel ready at that point in my career, which was literally just straight from art school, just to go very minimal and almost monochromatic. I was like, I need to do some more mark making. I need to paint and get a little bit more physical with my works before it was just, I felt the energy wasn't as there for those works. So I shifted and I went into another style. But I've come back to them because I love working on this medium. It is a Hessian canvas, and I went traveling a lot in my early 20s, and I was in South America, and I was really inspired by all the murals on the walls, in Colombia,
Okay.
in Cartagena. You walk and there's paintings on walls, and I just would be up in them, touching them, and the texture of a wall with paint on it. It was yum for me. And I wanted to recreate a mural style surface that I could paint on, not so flat. It had that texture. So I played around and I found this sort of render plaster that I could mix acrylic into and pigments into, and it gives it that surface. It is a render for a wall,
Yeah,
that
because
I'm
it's
painting.
quite hard. Like, I sort of very gently, but felt
No,
the
they want
work,
to be
and
touched. That's the whole point. Yeah, they're
because
tactile.
you feel it's going to be quite soft, but it's actually really hard, like really stiff
Right.
wood.
Yeah.
But you've achieved this beautiful sort of softness on that hard surface. So
Yeah, and that's because they're very porous. The surface is porous, and then when I work with a really washy acrylic, I
mm,
really water my acrylics down, and then when I paint on this surface and it seeps in quite a lot, it's almost like I'm acting more like a watercolor work. Like they
okay.
blend and they bleed, and it moves in an organic way like watercolor does. And that's, like you just said, I really was like, oh wow, there's this softness in this and this
Mm,
tenderness in this application, and it's a really slow application. Like I'm just doing, brush mark after brush mark, and creating layers and layers. And even though it's a circle, which is a very perfect
mhm,
shape, they're made in a that if they're very imperfect. They're freehand drawn, so they've
yeah,
got bumps and bruises all around them. But
I love that.
on a quick glance, they look whole.
Yeah.
But as you go and have a look at them, the edges, they bleed a little bit, and they waver, and there's a vibration to them, and that softness, which I just loved, with the physicality and the hardness of the surface that they're painting on.
Mm,
And so I took a practice that I was doing 10 years ago, and now I'm just really falling into a more explorative phase with that,
yeah, no,
with
it's
with the
wonderful, and
material of.
it's
Mm.
yeah, like it's so different. Yeah, I guess the mainstay is the color through your work, but yeah, the different surface texture, and letting the paint do a little bit of the work as well in terms of where it wants to go on that surface. So
Yeah. And they sit off the wall a little bit, so they kind of appear like they're floating, which I like as well, because they are 2D painting, but I love pushing that the tension of 2D, 3D, and just
yeah,
creating that idea that someone might actually look around and see how, and it
I did.
creates more of an object style. Yeah, because it
I was
lends itself to
curious.
that. Yeah, it creates the curiosity by, hanging them that way. And I like that engagement of, oh,
Yeah.
what is this? And is it flat? Is it round? Sometimes those circles actually feel bulbous if you stand, some of them have more body to them. So yeah, that's where I'm working on.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's nice to be able to revisit something, um, pick up from where you left off and let that evolve into something.
Mm.
Um, so we talked about your practice. In terms of career highlights so far, you had a couple of residencies internationally, which sound amazing in their locations. And you've been a multiple finalist in a number of art awards, and also discovered a collaboration with a design firm, Nancy Bird Design. So how did that come about,
Mm.
and what did that sort of how did that impact your career? And I mean in a good way, not
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Um, so yeah, Nancy Bird, beautiful company from Melbourne, and they approached me through Instagram, and it came at a really great time because I had taken some time off from creating in my paintings after I'd given birth to my daughter, and we'd moved up here, and I was just in that little bubble for a while, and then when I was set my studio back up and started painting again, and And I started posting on Instagram, and I suddenly was sharing a little bit about the story of living up here, and the trees and the nature that I had right around me. And they, I guess, responded to that artwork, and she came to me and said, do a collaboration. And it just came at a time that was so affirming for me, and because I was, shifting into motherhood, coming back to my art practice after quite a while off, and then having someone, connect and want to collaborate. It's a beautiful moment. And it was for me. And also that they were interested in my story, which was now living amongst the land, and that people wanted to hear that. And so all of that played into the excitement that I had for collaborating with them, and it ended up being a beautiful experience. I'm surrounded by a lot of creatives up here, and a neighbor's a professional photographer, so I asked her to come and do the photography, because we live obviously quite far away from Melbourne. And so she photographed me and my daughter in our home environment and in the bush, and we used those photographs.
Beautiful photos.
And then they made these amazing clothes, and that I get to now wear. Well, my daughter wears most of them, let's be honest, but she took the silk blouse, and that's her dress, and like the scarf is her doll's blankets and all of that. But yeah, that was a lovely collaboration.
Yeah, well, congrats on that.
That was a highlight. As you mentioned, the residencies, absolutely also career highlights. The one I was literally invited to go to a villa on the Amalfi Coast and paint for 3 months. I mean, what would you say? Let me think about it.
Think about it, yes.
I was like, I don't even want to think about it. When can I go? I'm ready. Yeah. And as daunting as that was, it was just such a highlight for me. Obviously. I mean, yeah. I was in a villa on the coast of the Mediterranean, on the Amalfi Coast, and I had to go and find paints and rabbit skin glue and hessian, and I was off exploring and doing all of that. But then I was there painting for 3 months, and the works were for the space there. Yeah. That absolute highlight. Would do that any day if anyone else wants to offer that.
It sounds amazing.
Again, to me, I'm off. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So having a sort of dipping your toes in the international sort of art scene. And so those works are part of a collection there. Is that
yeah,
that came about?
They are. They belong now to that, and there were other artworks there, and other artists had done residencies there. So there was a collection of artwork that has now been created for the villa, and they hang it there. So I left with a little bag, and I came back with that little bag, and rich, and the experience, So yeah, that was wild.
And with your work, like past and current, is there any takeaways that you want people to walk away with when they see your work?
That's a great question. I mean, yes, of course. I definitely I've transitioned, and I'm transitioning in from a place where wanting to paint for other people, for a reason, for the viewer, and for the world beyond me, more into a world where I'm really wanting to paint for myself, and then let go of the artwork, and release it, and then whatever happens. And I'm transitioning more into that space, and it's a much more aligned practice for me. But you can't help but obviously, wonder and hope that people walk away with your work with some form of connection. I'm painting more and more about and from a place which is connected to my journey as a human, as a woman, as a mother, and that is probably my main influence for my work now is my own life. And I don't expect people to relate necessarily to my life, but there are some universal themes that humans connect over and through. And, I feel a sense of I'm attracted to beauty, and I think beauty is a beautiful concept in our world, and it's a feeling and an attraction that is just, for me, I don't know, when I see a child and experience their love of life and the way they see beauty, I want that forever for everyone, because it's so pure,
Yeah.
and and so I use color in that way, and I want my works to embody some form of that, but I'm also okay that they can have different responses from people.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um, and back to
Mm.
colour. So you were talking about that beautiful lemon that you picked out of the garden, and the colour was just amazing. So, and being informed by nature, has there been any challenges in terms of wanting to get that colour to be as,
The way
um,
I want it.
the way you responded to the lemon, to have that same kind of impact?
Mm.
Uh, Any
Um,
challenges that you have?
oh yeah, I've used sometimes so much paint just trying to like get a color, and then because I'm a mix, to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, this bucket is about $200 worth of paint. I only wanted to do one dot, like I've got to sell this amount of paintings to, and but no, I with color, I I see color out and about in the world, and then there's a particular color that will really strike me, whether it's that yellow or whatever it is. Um, the most recent one was a very particular lilac color, and I just saw it somewhere and I went, well, that color is so amazing. And then what happens is it pops up more in my life,
Yeah.
like it enters my field, and I go, oh, that's strange, I actually just bought myself a phone color that was violet, and I didn't actually realize, but now I've got a violet phone cover. And then I go, oh, my daughter's gumboots are also violet, and then I've noticed that person's dress, and I'll start seeing the color more, like they say when someone wants to buy a certain car and suddenly they just see that car everywhere. It's
Yeah,
like with
yeah,
color,
the
it's
yellow car or the white car or yeah.
totally. And you think no one's ever going to have this car, and then it's everywhere. Well, for me, color does. I have that with color, and then I know when it's really just obvious. I'm like, I need to paint this color, and then I go into my studio, and then I've got to mix it, and it's generally a mixed color. It's not. It's rarely
Yeah.
a color straight from the tube, and I'm really organic in my approach to mixing. It's intuitive. I can feel when it just needs to be warmer, colder, hotter. Some of these really bright colors, I've just really fallen into neon paints, and I just use like a touch of neon in some
Okay.
paintings, in some
Yeah.
colors, and it just like pops them a little bit.
Yep.
And that's been a fun way to get a certain vibrance out of a color. Um, but the challenge is, but I like that challenge. I like the challenge of having to find a color, and if I can't find it and I use it, I'm not generally happy with it. Like, you know,
Okay,
I'll
it's
do a
time to play with
painting.
clay.
That's when it's time to play with clay. That's when you go, that was too much paint on one small painting and it didn't work. Yeah, let's make a bowl. um, but yeah, I will, and I will see the way colors work next to each other. Like, just for example, with a lemon, and then if you put it down next to something in a kitchen, and if it happens to be next to, I don't know, an aubergine or something, it's got that
Mm,
red plum color, and then those two colors play off. I go, that purple on an eggplant is amazing. Like, it's
mm.
got this beautiful color to it next to that yellow, and then I'll be like, okay, I've got that. That's a fun color combination to go and play with.
Run with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
that's
like
how it kind of
yeah,
for
it's
me.
fun and it is amazing if you look so intrinsically at, nature's pigment and colour, how incredibly intense it can be or soft and beautiful. So, and
Yeah.
that is reflected in your work from what I've seen. So, um,
Yeah, I am, as an adult, I'm wowed by color. Like, I'm wowed that Mother Nature produces a certain color and a vibrancy of it that's not fake. It's not plastic. It's not been, reached a certain Pantone that we've created on a computer. It's real. And I get wowed by it all the time.
yeah.
I mean, I have this shocking purple nail polish on my fingers, which is half off, and it's like metallic purple. It's horrific, right? And really fake and plastic looking. But yesterday I found a shell on the beach with my daughter, and it was metallic purple,
Oh
and it was
wow.
the same tone as my horrible fingernail polish, but then suddenly it was beautiful because it was real and it was on a shell.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like, oh, this, yeah.
beautiful
So
discovery, isn't it?
yes.
And so what are you currently working on or planning, given, you've done a revisit of some earlier aesthetics. So is there anything else that you kind of have parked that you're keen to explore more, or is that a bit further down the track?
Yeah. No, there's so many things that
Ah,
I
here we
want to
go.
explore. It's about that weaving of making it, bringing it into being. Right now with these sun portals, I'm still very much in the thick of creating more of them, and the ones that are in the Sunshine Coast National Art Prize, they're smaller pieces hung together to make up a larger piece, so 40 by 40. I love working at that size.
Okay.
I work on that size because originally I really love painting large, but I moved into a really small studio at one point and I couldn't paint big because I had this tiny floor space. So I started cutting up these tiny pieces and I was
Oh,
like, I'll
okay,
never work small. I'm going to be able to do it.
yeah.
And,
There's always
and
a
by
workaround.
default, by default, I did that. And then I saw in my mind, hold on, these can be big. If you just paint 100 of them and hang 100 of them, this could be really big.
Yeah.
So I went about it that way, but now I have bigger space. I've been painting on larger scale sun portals, and they're really different to the smaller ones. The paint application is really different. The time it takes for me to do one brush stroke, the paint sinks, at the same pace
Yeah.
as a smaller work. So I'm having to learn how to do them bigger and translate the work into a larger scale. So I'm working on some larger ones, trying to do that at the moment. And then just bringing in, different varieties of the circle and challenging, the colors and the shape and the form. There's a few other works in progress that are doing that, and also bringing it into the 3D a little bit more.
Oh, that
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
exciting. I
yeah.
watched one of your little reels, and it was just painting that one color, and you were describing that,
Oh, yeah.
trying to sort of um, paint and not let the paint kind of dry too soon, and things like that. So is that part of this larger sun portals work? And
It, yeah, this is where the work and the practice can be frustrating because you think you've found a method that works and you go, wow, this is working, and then you replicate it on a different size or a different, something happens and it just doesn't work anymore. And you've got to, so what do? Do you try to try to recreate that smaller work larger, or do you
mm,
have to shift and change it and bring it into something new? And that's when you start playing, and that's why it's an ever evolving,
yeah,
process. There's no lid on anything saying this is it. And I like it. That's the challenge in there. Going big is, for me, yeah, it's a challenge that I'm still working on. I'm changing my brush sizes. I'm changing the speed of my brush stroke, the thickness, the paint. It's a
yeah.
formula that I'm constantly tweaking. But I want to do a big, like 3 by 3 meter one, so that it kind of takes up a whole wall.
Wow.
And then
Okay.
yeah, so that'll be,
No doubt there'll be some little challenges there with that one as well, but you'll work through them. It sounds like you can
hope
adjust.
so. Yeah, or it might lend itself to being different. Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah. Look, we're almost at the end of our session, but I will check if there's any questions from the floor. And before I do, just one little question. What's one piece of advice that has stuck with you?
Mm. Um, I Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind was actually something that my sister said to me many years ago. It was a year after I finished art school, and I was in New York City, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed in New York City, for a couple of months on my own. And she sent me a letter, and I think I was probably going, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing here? I'm this tiny speck in this big world, and it's just so overwhelming. I got to get out. And she wrote me a letter, and she just wrote, Mim, it's your duty. It's your duty to paint. It's your duty to create. you know,
Oh,
for humanity and for the evolution and expansion of our culture, you know, it's your duty to create. And this is, my sister was only 2 years older than me. She was only about 23, very wise. And I
very
just,
profound.
it stuck with me because I not only did I feel seen by her in this world that was so busy that I felt like nobody, but I felt very empowered by those words. I felt very
Yeah.
empowered by them. And I also suddenly felt a connection to this big world that I was so enamored with, but felt so insignificant in. I
Yeah.
found a connection to it that I was like, all these people and every little artist has played their part
Yep.
and made the whole, you know. And she was just like, you've just got to do it. This is your duty.
Oh,
And I just, it's just stuck with me.
no, that's beautiful. Beautiful
Yeah.
words um,
From my sister.
to carry with you through your work. You know.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Here's one. It's been said that Pablo Picasso said all children are born artists, but how do we maintain that? Has that always been the question?
I love
To
that.
read that again.
No, no, I said I love that.
Yeah, all children are born artists, but how do we maintain that? So has that always been the question?
Has that always been the question?
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
yeah,
Yeah, of course. I think, isn't it crazy that we're born and we have this innate and, you know, natural connection to life, right, in its pure form. And then somehow we get these layers and we get these conditions, and then we spend our adulthood trying to rip them all off and getting back to that. But
yeah,
for me,
yeah.
you know, like when I paint, I mean, I hang more of my daughter's works on the wall than mine, not because I'm proud of she's my daughter, because they're really good. You know,
Look out.
I'm like, you know, but they're
Young
good in the
person
sense
coming
I'm like,
through.
wow, when I paint abstract, you know, a kid just does something and it's got, you know, it's got that she's not trying to
It,
achieve anything in it, and so it's not I forgot the word, but
it's uninhibited.
uninhibited, you know. And we try and do that as an adult, and that's our quest, I think, especially those who are, you know, maybe going down the abstract style painting. But the way we do it is we just stay connected to children and use them as inspiration. I mean, and protect them and you know, protect their childhood and that innocence and that imagination. You know,
Yeah,
encourage it, let it live for as long as possible in a child is my belief. Our
yeah,
role as the guides of children, um, because that is it's the gift of being a human is that imagination. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and as you say, you know, as an adult, you've got all these other influences and conditions and things, and trying to kind of cut through to keep some sort of um, honest approach to uh,
Mm.
that creative space. Yeah, challenging.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I love colours that sing so much to you and shows you in your art making. So that's a lovely comment, just to let you
Thank
know
you.
that how much they love your work and your creative practice. Um, so Mim, before we wind up, is there any last words that you have to share about whether it's, something, a pearl of wisdom to share with future artists or current artists, or an experience?
You know what? The first thing that came to my mind was go and find a lemon. It can be in your neighbor's tree. It can be from the shops. It can be from anywhere. Go find a lemon and really look at it, smell it, and you know, like take it apart and just witness it and see what it actually is made up of. And you know, there's so much sensory experience in just a lemon.
Mm,
And you know, for me, finding the awe and the wonder in our everyday life is that is what a child does, you
yeah,
know. And there is so much in that. We need, I think, to tap into that beauty and that awe and wonder of what life is, And there is so much in the everyday, in the mundane, in domestic life. It is an engine room of magic. It really is. So find a lemon, smell it, cut it open, have a look at the beautiful geometric pattern in there, have a look at the little pearls of lemon beads that pop in your mouth, and enjoy your lemon.
Thanks. I love that. Thanks so much, Mim. Before we go, I just want to share that there's still some places available for upcoming workshops. One this Saturday with Nicole, Verbode and Cash is contemporary casting. There's school holiday workshops. I think there's still places available for the older age group on the 30th of September. We also have our monthly street art walking tour of murals around Caloundra on the 25th of September. And there's one last From the Artist interview online on the 1st of October with James Hale, another finalist in the Sunshine Coast National Art Prize. And of course, there is the highly anticipated winners announcement where we find out who's won the major prize, who's the highly commended, a residency, and of course the People's Choice. So Mim, all the best of luck for that big night, and we hope to see everybody there. It's a wonderful evening and a signature event. You need to make a booking, just jump on the gallery's website and you can follow the prompts to book your place. And so again, thank you for joining us today and supporting arts and culture on the Sunshine Coast. And Mim, again, thank you so much for sharing insights about your practice and about your beautiful idyllic life. Very jealous here. And all the best with what's coming up ahead. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Pleasure.
Bye.